Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sedgwick County Board of County Commissioners meeting. Welcome to those joining online, Facebook and YouTube, and everyone joining us in person. We're glad you're here today. When you walk in, we always encourage you to grab a meeting agenda packet that allows you to follow along with all the items we're discussing at the County Commission. If you're ever curious about supporting documents, you can have access to those at www.sedgwick.org. Now let's get to work. We have a full agenda of the meeting for May 20th, 2026. Call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, first item.
Invocation to be led by Pastor Luke Clubb, Country Acres Baptist Church. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to read from Psalm 8 here. It says, O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory above the heavens. When I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place, what is man that you are mindful of him, and the son of man that you care for him? Yet you have made him a little lower than the heavenly beings and crowned him with glory and honor. You have given him dominion over the works of your hands. You have put all things under his feet, all sheep and oxen, and also the beasts of the field, the birds of the heavens and the fish of the sea, whatever passes along the paths of the seas. O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. Let's pray. Lord, we just thank you for this day. Thank you for the wonderful weather, the rain that we've received. Thank you for these commissioners who serve. I pray for them today. I pray for the business that they will conduct. I pray for the decisions they'll make. I pray that you would grant them wisdom and guidance. I pray that they would be mindful of the fact that you grant wisdom. I pray they would be pursuing you in their personal lives. They would be seeking wisdom from you. I pray for the difficulties that may come through the course of today in the matters of business. I pray that you'd give them patience. I pray you'd give them humility, a humble servant's heart to seek what is best for this county and the citizens herein. I thank you for your kindness to us, the graces that we see every single day in our lives. We pray that you'd guide this day for the commissioners. We pray this all in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Next item.
Roll call. Commissioner Meitzner.
Present.
Commissioner Beatty.
Present.
Commissioner Howell.
Present.
Commissioner Wise. Present. Chairman Blubaugh.
Present. Next item, please.
County announcements.
Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Nicole Gibbs of Strategic Communications. We're going to start off today with good news, and I'd like to invite Stephen Shaughnessy here to the podium. He is going to talk about this year's Ability Point Professional of the Year. Stephen.
Morning, Stephen.
Good morning, commissioners. Yes, as Nicole said, I wanted to be here this morning to share some good news from our department. On May 7th, Ability Point held its annual awards night, and our very own Jeanette Livingston was honored with the IDD Professional of the Year award. The Professional of the Year award is unique in that nominations and selection of the honorees are made by the previous winners of the award. So her peers nominated her and voted for her for this award. And I just want to read a few excerpts from the nomination. A true champion of the IDD Service Network. Jeanette's tireless efforts impact the lives of those living with intellectual and developmental disabilities, their families, and the providers who support them. Jeanette spends countless evenings and weekends educating about connecting families to the IDD support network. Jeanette actively engages in advocacy efforts to educate decision makers locally and statewide on the needs of those living with IDD. They champion opportunities to fill gaps and meet specific needs like Project Search, creating a valuable employment internship opportunities, and has been called the Pied Piper of the START program to better support and serve those with complex behavioral needs. Jeanette helps lead one of the largest and best-run CDDOs in the state as the deputy director. So I just want to recognize, again, Jeanette's contributions to our department and this significant achievement.
Jeanette, thank you so much for your leadership. We really appreciate it. We'd love to get a picture with you whenever we recess to do after the EMS proclamation. If you could stick around, we'd really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to be a broken record, but it's a good reason. The county budget simulator is still open. It's open through June 7th, and we want to hear from citizens. Every year, commissioners and staff focus on providing high-quality services while balancing the amount of property taxes needed to support the work. Visit sedgwickcounty.org/budget simulator to share your feedback on priorities and help us balance the budget. I don't know about you, but the weather sure doesn't feel like it this week, but lake season is here. Sedgwick County Fire District 1 wants to remind you of a few water safety tips while swimming in open water.
Before you take the plunge into summer, Sedgwick County Fire District 1 wants to remind you how to stay safe in open water. Stay away from water that smells bad or looks blue-green. That's probably algae. That can make people and pets sick. No matter how tempting, never dive into a lake. Jumping feet first is much safer in case the water is shallow or a rock or tree stump is just below the surface. Avoid swimming alone or at night. If you get into trouble, finding help in time will be almost impossible. Keep a flotation device close by and never try to swim across a pond or lake without wearing a life jacket. From all of us at Sedgwick County Fire District 1, have a fun-filled and safe summer.
Just have to point out how cool that backflip was off the dock. And last but not least, Sedgwick County offices will be closed on Memorial Day, which is Monday, May 25th. Emergency services will be available by calling or texting 911. And that's all I have for today. I'll stand for any questions.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners? All right. Thank you very much, Nicole.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Proclamations. Item A, proclamation declaring EMS Week.
And Commissioner Howells agreed to read the EMS proclamation.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am greatly honored to be able to have the opportunity to read this morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this chance. The proclamation says, whereas emergency medical technicians, paramedics, dispatchers, nurses, physicians, support staff, and other emergency care professionals provide life-saving care and compassion in times of urgent need. And whereas these dedicated professionals respond quickly to medical emergencies, accidents, disasters, and other critical incidents, often under challenging and unpredictable circumstances. And whereas EMS teams work around the clock to deliver high-quality emergency care, strengthen community resilience, and serve the public with skill, courage, and professionalism. And whereas members of the emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas the week of May 17 through 23, 2026 has been designated as Emergency Medical Services Week to honor the contributions of EMS professionals and raise awareness of the essential services they provide. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Chairman Jeff Blubaugh and the Board of Sedgwick County Commissioners do hereby proclaim the week of May 17 through 23, 2026 as Emergency Medical Services Week in Sedgwick County, and we encourage all residents to encourage and thank EMS professionals who provide critical life-saving care each and every day. Mr. Chairman, I am so grateful to read that, and I would love to make a motion that we should adopt this proclamation.
Okay, and I'll second that motion. We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Blubaugh.
Aye, and the motion passes 5-0.
And we have, thank you, we have Chief Kevin Lanterman and Brian Nichols, the Deputy Chief of EMS, should be here to receive the proclamation. Thank you.
Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. I gladly accept this proclamation on behalf of the many men and women we have serving the community. Like I said, it doesn't happen without their continued resilience in what they do. And they, like I said, answer the call over 75,000 times last year, people in need. And I truly believe it's one of the best EMS departments in the country, and that's just not me saying that. That was our accrediting body last year that came in and That was their words, that they would put us in the top 5% of any EMS service in the country. So that means a lot when it comes from an outside source that sees a lot of EMS services throughout the country. So I'd like to thank you for your support, continued support. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us, call volume rising, things like that. You're going to see more of me in the next few days, so I won't spend a lot of time talking to you. But I'd like to acknowledge the other providers we have. And it takes a whole, it's not just the field providers, they're the heart and soul of our department, the ones that are out there on the front lines making all these calls. But our training department, our logistics department, the billing folks, and everybody else in the whole system, like you mentioned, the dispatchers, the first responders, our medical director, the whole team is what makes this system truly special. So does anybody else have anything they'd like to say? They're all shy, they don't want to talk, but thank you for allowing us to say a few words, and thank you and for the proclamation. We appreciate it.
Kevin, I've got a couple commissioners that want to comment here, but I just want to thank you guys. Appreciate everything you guys do, and excited hopefully see some of you guys at the Pinnacle event we're going to have on Thursday for the opening, because whenever it comes to stress and mental health, a lot of people think police and fire. They don't realize the things that you guys see and that you guys come up on, and you need a little refresher to get some of that stuff out of you guys' heads too. So
Exactly. Yes.
Certainly appreciate
And
you
we
guys.
appreciate that. I told Sheriff Easter that I know that model was modeled out of a system out of Louisville, who they have a nice center for their law enforcement, but he made sure when he brought it here to include all first responders, and we truly appreciate that.
Yeah. Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief, I just wanted to say thank you for your service, and I have really grown to appreciate your department and what they do. I would say every elected official probably would say very quickly that public safety is our #1 priority. I think we all agree on that. And EMS and what you guys provide, our system of medical response. And I would like to recognize our firefighters as well, and even some police officers that have CPR training and even EMT training, or even possibly paramedic training. But that entire system of response is a very impressive system. And I had an accident when I was 16, and I don't remember the ambulance ride because I was out of it, okay? I don't remember that. I do remember the one I had in February. And I got an injury in February, and I broke my leg and my ankle, which people may have noticed. I got to call our Sedgwick County 911, and I had a Wichita police officer and a Wichita Fire Department show up. They were very amazing, actually. Did incredible work. But then came Sedgwick County EMS, and I felt so reassured everything was going to be okay, and I was in good hands, and I could just completely trust them. And it was just a great experience personally. And I just want to say that your staff is incredible, and you do great work. We've had some challenges, and not too many years ago, but we're rebuilding and we're getting better and better every single day. And I think we are getting to be, well, I'm glad to hear that you said we're top 5%. I believe that's true. Mm-hmm. And I want to be #1 in this country. I think we're doing a great job getting there. We're going to continue to invest in EMS. And I'm so proud of your staff and what they provide. And I just want to say thank you for being so awesome. And I love your department. I love what you guys do. And I don't want to say anything but go up from here. We can continue moving up together. But your leadership is incredibly important to me. So thank you for all you do for Sedgwick County.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Beatty?
Yeah, Chief, thank you. I echo everything in the proclamation, Commissioner Howell's comments. Chief, how long have you been with Sedgwick County EMS?
34 years.
Yeah, so you've seen a lot. I remember when I first got on the commission, I remember you telling us that the average call volume daily was, if I remember correctly, 150, 160, 170 calls per day. And that number now is upwards of 205, 210 a day, maybe even more. So these conversations about, one, pausing to honor the work that EMS does and the importance that you play in our community, that's important. We have to pause and acknowledge these things. That when you get onto a scene, and I've talked to some of your people, I mean, many times you go on scene to stabilize a scene, to stabilize the victim or the individual, and then prepare for transport. But you're walking into these, and you got dogs barking, you may have violent situations happening all around. I mean, you just walk into environments, you never know what you're walking into, and yet your people stabilize a situation, and they do it with courage, and they get people where they need to be. So, number one, we got to stop and honor and pause. But number two is we've got to understand how do we scale? And we're in an environment now as the public safety inputs are increasing into this ecosystem. We've got to scale all of public safety. I think sheriff, I think fire, I think corrections, I think everything at forensic science, but I can't think, 911 in particular, I can't think of a department that needs the attention of scaling more than your department. And we've got to find creative ways that we do this, responsible ways that we do this to get your team the resources they need, but also to get this community the response that they deserve. So I know that we have a Friday morning meeting, a workshop of sorts. I'm really excited to engage this because I'm committed to scaling and doing the things that we have to do responsibly to make sure that we can get the response that's needed. So I'm just excited for those conversations, to understand the ecosystem better and to understand how we can look at this, not just this year, but 3 years, 5 years, 10 years out, to look and see where are we going and how do we properly prepare, because you're a crucial link in this entire public safety ecosystem, and we need to make sure that you have the resources you need. So congratulations. Thank you for the work everyone, your team does, what you mean to this community, and I'm excited to engage you again on Friday.
Thank you. And we do have the opportunity to invest in the health and well-being of the citizens of Sedgwick County. So.
Okay. I'd like to take a quick 5-minute recess. We'd like to take a picture with you guys, celebrate, and we'd also like to celebrate Jeanette Livingston's award as well. So, be right back. All right. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Appointments.
Justin?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Justin Wagoner, County Councilor. There are two items under appointments, items B and C. They're both resolutions reappointing members to the Sedgwick County Emergency Communications Community Advisory Board. The first one is a reappointment of Hunter Hill to that board in an at-large position. And then the item C is a resolution reappointing Melissa Webb, also an at-large position. Both of those were recommended for appointment by Emergency Communications Director Laura Forshee. The recommended action would be to adopt those resolutions.
Okay. If anyone didn't have any questions, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to approve items B and C.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Aye. Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Buba.
Aye, and the motion passes 5-0. Do we have either of the appointees here this morning? Okay. We'll appreciate them stepping up and serving. Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. Next item.
Public agenda.
We have two individuals signed up on the public agenda. Please state your, or whenever you come up to the podium, please state your name and address. First one is Connie Funston. Good morning, Connie.
It's Cammie.
Cammie, I'm sorry.
I'm Cammie Funston. My address is 760 North Brown Thrush Lane in Wichita, 672.
Okay.
So good morning, Commissioners. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you this morning. My name is Cammie Funston. I am the mother of an adult woman with Down syndrome. I'm here today to ask you to support the National Association of Counties 2026 Legislative Conference Adopted Policy Resolution, which I've provided that section of the resolution for you, that urges Congress and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to rescind or amend the Medicaid Home and Community-Based Service Setting Rule. Essentially, the setting rule is a wieldy 74-page document of prescriptive and burdensome regulatory provisions, but I'm personally most concerned about the section placing restrictions on center-based work. For 20 years, basically all of her adult life, my daughter, Charity, has found purpose and acceptance and self-esteem in the Starkey Work Activity Program. She contributes to society by paying taxes, and she's proud to earn her own spending money. Under the HCBS setting rule, center-based work, such as she does at Starkey, is not to be allowed because it is regarded as segregated and restrictive of access to the community. Rather, it is believed that all disabled persons who wish to work can get jobs in competitive integrated employment, or CIE. Certainly, those with the choice and the capacity to do so should have the right and the opportunity to CIE, but to think that everyone fits under that model is unfair, short-sighted, and frankly discriminatory of the entire segment of a particular segment of the disability population. So persons with disabilities present an array of, it's a very diverse population, and an array of employment choices needs to be preserved to meet those various needs. And so rather than being segregated, I'm among many that in contrast see service center walls housing workplaces that provide higher need intellectual and developmental disability waiver participants with a sense of belonging, acceptance, safety, support, meaning, and socialization. For my daughter, it means that she can go to work every day like any other autonomous adult, doing work she loves and contributing to society among her chosen community of peers where her strengths are valued and her supports are adequate. Since I know that Commissioner Wise likes to hear not just problems but possible solutions, I have provided you with a link to the Together for Choice website. Here you will find a letter to Drew Snyder, the Deputy Administrator and Director of CMS, from Scott Mandel, who is the chairperson of Together for Choice. I call this to your attention because Mr. Mandel has painstakingly reviewed the setting rule and suggested a number of simple but reasonable amendments. So it is highly possible to amend this setting rule. For example, just by changing the word community to communities, to make it plural. Because the implication of the rule that there is a single community is an inaccurate construct. If we think of our own lives, we choose to take part in a number of communities. Faith community, a work community. You are a community of county commissioners. And for my daughter, her coworkers provide community. She also has a community of Special Olympians. In her leisure time, she goes on community outings, shopping, and to concerts and to dances. She's in no way segregated or restricted from community life. So I hope that I've adequately made my point, and I conclude by asking you again to support the NACO resolution. I thank you for your attention, and I stand for questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Cammie. Commissioner Beatty?
Cammie, thank you so much. This is, I have a lot of questions.
Good, yay. I love them.
And your daughter is Charity, correct?
Yes, that's Charity.
Is this a new rule?
The settings rule is not new. It was passed in 2014. However, Kansas is a bit behind implementing things, so we are currently under a corrective action plan.
Okay.
So things that have disappeared in other states have happily are still being preserved in the state of Kansas. But the KDADS, the Kansas Department for Aging and Disability Services, is in the process of doing a modernization plan. Okay. So I've been very active in participating in those work groups. And the current draft, it's the 5th draft of the modernization plan, does allow for persons who have been doing center-based work as of January 1st of this year to continue without time restriction.
I see.
CMS may not approve that.
Okay.
I have been cautioned by Michelle Hayden because I got excited. She said, don't get excited because CMS might not approve that. CMS is saying that any form of center-based work has to be time restricted.
So that's, Cammie, thank you for your advocacy. So I need to understand, is the decision-making power rest with the state government or the federal government?
Federal government.
Okay.
Federal government.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. If I could ask maybe Jeanette and Stephen, if maybe you guys can help us better understand this from a federal legislative platform, and you could do it via memo, or maybe we can have a separate conversation. We also have a representative from Senator Moran's office with us today, so hopefully I'm glad that he is hearing.
I've been in communication with Senator Moran's office.
Well, that is so convenient,
isn't it? And with Senator Marshall's and with Congressman Estes. I've been in touch with all of them.
Well, Cammie, thank you for bringing us up to speed on this. I promise what you'll get from us is we're going to engage our CDDO and our staff, and we'll also engage our federal delegation to figure out how we can have a good conversation with this one. Everything you're, just so you know, everything you're saying makes perfect sense as to why there has to be reform in what's happening. We want autonomy for all individuals, but particularly those like Charity that are seeking this opportunity.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Where is Senator Moran? I want to talk with that person.
Yeah, he's a good guy, I promise.
Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Commissioner Wise would like to.
I'm not sure I have a question, but I wanted to thank you for reaching out in the meeting that we had. Jeanette and Stephen both had to come into that meeting and get me up to speed on what the settings rule is, what it means, how it came forth, and where we're at today. I also was going to give a shout out to Jareth with Senator Moran's office and let you know that he is here, just happens to be visiting, told me he was coming earlier this week. So that's a good connection. And to my fellow commissioners, Jeanette's helped with a letter of support that we could review, and if we wanted to do something joint or individually to help support that we look at this and we understand, the heart is probably really positive behind all of this, but the impact is not so beneficial. So I have had a little bit of time on this issue. I think, Jeanette, it's probably a good idea to have the other commissioners sit in on the same thing you did for me. So glad you're here too. What a nice morning this is. Cammie, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Chairman, if I'm Cammie, on the way out, if you would catch Tanya, I think Jim Davenport, our federal lobbyist, also ought to be dialed in on this, so take care of that too.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker is Sybil Strum.
You did a great job, and I will support it.
Good morning, Sybil.
Good morning. My name is Sybil Strum. I reside at 326 North Walnut, Wichita, Kansas, 67203. There you go. I'm here because I'm outraged that the Central Inspection Metropolitan Planning took my house without my permission. Maggie Ballard was involved. Our commissioner, 6th City Council. I'm a little nervous, but I was outraged. I was at 2909 North Richmond. I gave Maggie my phone number. I told her where I was. I went to my old neighborhood, and there's my house, demolished. My records were demolished. My valuables were gone. Before that, November 21st, 2019, the Central Inspection came to my house without my permission, and my neighbor, who's deceased, asked him why was he there, and he started cussing at him. He said, "You don't need to know. I am going to take her house. I'm going to tear her shed down." And my neighbor, who's deceased, called me up at my address, 2909 North Richmond. He goes, "There's a stranger over by your house." I go, "Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm not there." I called Dave Unruh. He used to be the Sedgwick County Commissioner, the head. And he told me, "Go call the police." And I did. I called the police, and they got the Central for trespassing. And I had a no trespassing sign on my front window. And I'm devastated. This is supposed to be a community that cares. I don't like this community. I've been there for the community. I've handled runaways. I've handled kids that were in drug-infested houses and alcohol houses. I would get the police to come over to my house in the middle of the night and say, "Mrs. Strum, take this kid. I don't want to take him to juvenile hall." And I did. I furnished food. I furnished clothing. I took him to school. And I also met the principals. Yes, they were not my kids. I had 7 of my own. But I felt it was my duty to go out and try to get those kids to be good citizens. Some of them didn't become good citizens, but some of them come up to me and said, thank you for putting up with me. I had a pyro person come to my house on Dodge, and he said, I'm going to burn your house down. And I said, no, you're not. I'm going to spank you. and Mr. Treat, who was an officer a long time ago, said, you have permission to spank my kid. And he wanted me to go take care of his kid. But back to the devastation, Maggie did not inform me. I'm a homeowner. I did not get informed. I just found out on my own. My daughter was born in that house. My granddaughter was born in that house. And she went on her knees and cried. I went on my knees. And I hate to say this, but Jeff Blueball was involved. And so was Mayor Whipple. And so was Meister. Meister told me not to bring it up when he was at the city council meeting. I told him I am going to bring it up until I get justice, because our flag salute says justice for all. Well, it's not been justice for me. It's been heck. I'm not going to say the other word. I know better. It's been really tragedy. And then I get told that I have to, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Can you finish your thought, Sybil?
Yeah, I know he's going to say that. They made me pay a $20,000 loan. And Fidelity was involved. And Mark Stanberry and Mike Henson were involved. And when I go talk to people, I want to bring that up. Don't take my house. I told them, don't take my house. I'm trying to build it back. But they took the house, they destroyed it, and they made me homeless. Now I'm paying a $20,000 loan. Is that fair? No. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sybil. Anybody got questions? Okay, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to receive and file public comment.
Second.
So a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Blubow.
Aye. And the motion passes 5-0. Next item, please.
Consent agenda.
Morning, Tom.
Good morning, Chairman and Commission. Tom Stolz, County Manager's Office. Recommend approval of consent items D through N on regular agenda.
Does anyone have any questions about consent? If not, I'd like to make a motion to approve items D through N.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Blubow.
Aye. And the motion passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, next item.
New business, item O, a resolution authorizing and directing the issuance, sale, and delivery of general obligation bonds, Series A 2026 of Sedgwick County, Kansas, providing for the levy and collection of an annual tax for the purpose of paying the principal of and interest on as they become due, making certain covenants and agreements to provide for the payment and security thereof, and authorizing certain other documents and actions connected therewith.
Okay. Good morning, Lindsay. Before we get started here, we do a little recognition right quick?
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. So for the record, Lindsay Poverso, your Chief Financial Officer. As I had shared with you all yesterday, we are our municipal advisor, Tom Calico's final bond sale. Tom has had an illustrious career. He is retiring next week. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank him for his service to the county. So I became CFO almost 10 years ago, and I came from budget director. And at that time, I will tell you, I had absolutely no clue how municipal bonds worked. I knew enough that I would help with credit rating analysis, and that was about the extent of it. And so Tom and Garth both actually inherited kind of a mess with me, and had to teach me everything from the ground up. And they have both done so, but Tom Tom especially has walked through the details, the training, all of the obligations that come with it with extraordinary patience. He is as humble and as gracious as the day is long. He is exceptionally experienced. He worked in municipal government before he became bond advisor, and I just want to take a moment to thank him from the very bottom of my heart for all that he has done for the county. He has steered us through some pretty crazy times, changes at the federal level, changes with COVID, and everything in between. And so thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity to thank him. He will come up to the podium as part of the presentation today, so you can certainly share your thanks at that time too, if that works.
Real quick, Tom, I realize this is a behind-the-scene things. Taxpayers, people don't understand what you do, but we as commissioners certainly appreciate it, and it really helps. So thank you very much. We have a quick round of applause, guys. If we don't have any other commissioner comments, we'll jump right into business.
Okay, so now we'll get to the business of today's item. So after many ups and downs through this process, thanks to legislative action, we finally have arrived at a bond sale tied to multiple projects that were funded through reimbursement of these bond proceeds that we'll talk about today. So we, as authorized by you, held our competitive bond sale yesterday. As you heard, we got an exceptionally competitive interest rate that I'll let Tom walk you through. In large part, this is due to the AAA credit rating that the county receives and maintains, which is major credit to this commission, the decisions you make, and the support that you give the rest of the organization in implementing all of the best practices and things that we do to have such wonderful financial conditions. So at the conclusion of Tom's comments on the resolution and what you're being asked to approve today, I would recommend that you authorize the resolution and authorize the chairman and I to sign documents in the coming days. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom. Garth will then be on hand for any questions, but Tom's going to close us out on this item.
Okay. All right.
Well, first, unexpected. Thank you very much for the recognition. It is an odd feeling, sharing with folks. I've worked my whole life. I started delivering newspapers when I was in grade school, and I've worked summer vacations and Christmas vacations. I can't remember not working. So this is going to be an experience. That's for sure. So you have before you this morning a ordinance ratifying the sale and setting the terms for your 2026A bonds. The proceeds of those bonds finance various county facility improvements, expansion of the household hazardous waste building, purchase of land for the expansion of the community crisis center, various bridge improvements, and 4 special benefit districts. The bond issue, you may recall, was originally set at $11,420,000. It was ultimately downsized to $10,570,000 due to a premium bid we received and also some prepayments on the special assessment districts. We took bids yesterday morning. We received 5 bids, with the winner being TD Securities out of New York at a true interest cost of about 3.6%. We felt this were very competitive bids based on the number of bids received and comparable transactions in the market and various market indices. The bonds were awarded based on the parameters that you had previously approved. As we typically do, we applied to Standard & Poor's for a bond rating. The S&P ultimately assigned a AAA rating to the bonds and affirmed your AAA rating on your general obligation debt. For those unfamiliar with it, AAA is the highest rating possible. In their report, S&P noted various strengths of the county, a broad and diverse economy, consistent financial performance, healthy reserves and liquidity, exceptional, and that's their word, exceptional financial management, and manageable debt. So congratulations to you on your continuation of your incredible economic strength. With that, we would recommend awarding the bonds to TD Securities. And as I always want to close with, and definitely want to close here for my last time, I want to recognize, while Baker Tilly is proud to have played a part, it takes a team. You have an excellent finance department led by Lindsay. They do a wonderful job. And then you have a great bond counsel in Gilmore and Bell and Garth Herman, and they do a great job for you too. So that's your entire working group for any bond transaction. With that, I'd be happy to respond to any questions.
Okay, commissioners, what questions do we have? Commissioner Meister.
Thank you, and congratulations on the retirement.
Thank you.
Just was looking at the one-pager summary. This is paving, drainage, the household waste building we built, a couple of bridges, and the crisis center. So this is all some of the, as we talk about, as our commission, we focus on core services, and this falls right into bonding core services. So congratulations. What was that quote you said about excellent? Not your words?
Exceptional.
Yeah. Exceptional financial management, yes. Direct quote right out of their report.
Well, okay, I guess.
You want to hear it again?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Beatty.
Yeah, Tom, congratulations again on retirement. I have a question. I don't know, Tom, if you heard, or Garth, or maybe Lindsay, but when we first were briefed on these, I remember the conversation about a 5.5% interest rate, and these bonds sold at what rate?
Yeah, good point.
About 6.4, which, yeah, I mean, the market has moved up. I can't remember.
3.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, other way around.
3.6.
I looked at Lindsay and I said,
sorry. This is why I'm retiring.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 3.6, right.
Okay, so that's a substantial difference.
Well, okay, I think what you're referring to, so I made reference in my remarks to parameters that you had approved that county staff was allowable. That was the maximum amount set in the parameters. We never expected it would sell at that, but that was the maximum amount. It just allowed some movement in case something unforeseen happened.
Well, I know we were briefed from our CFO and her amazing team about the volatility in the market and being unsure, even with AAA, that we were unsure. To know that it delivered and sold at that rate at the 3.6 is really impressive, and I think it goes to all the credentials and all the credibility of the finance world that we're living in here at Sedgwick County government. And I just want to say thank you to your leadership, Garth, your guys' leadership, Lindsay, obviously David's here too, and your entire team. But the taxpayers need to know, in my view, the people that we represent, that the stewardship of your tax dollars stretches and it saves taxpayers money when we have to do, as Commissioner Meister likes to say, the blocking and tackling, the infrastructure projects of local government. When we bond fund these things, because of the financial stewardship of their tax dollars, we're able to leverage these for better rates. So all the list of the accomplishments that you listed, the taxpayer needs to know and understand that their tax dollars are being stewarded over very well here at Sedgwick County government, because I know that's not always the case at other governments, foreign, the federal government on down. So thank you for always acknowledging that. Garth does too. You always acknowledge that, and I know that we like to try to acknowledge too Lindsay and her team, Tom, and the direction from the management of how we're able to accomplish these things. So again, happy retirement. Thanks for all the details, and excited to vote on this.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. If we don't have any questions, I want to make a motion to adopt the resolution. We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Buba.
Aye. And the motion passes 5-0.
Go fishing. Go fishing.
Next time.
Item P, DER 2024-00010, amendment to the July 9, 2009 edition of the Wichita-Sedgwick County Unified Zoning Code adopted by City of Wichita Ordinance Number 48-431 and Sedgwick County Resolution Number 137-09 as amended, dealing with event centers in the county.
Good morning, Scott.
Good morning. Scott Wadle from the Planning Department here to present this item. So the recommended action for this item is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission, approve the proposed amendments to the Unified Zoning Code, sign the resolution, and authorize the resolution to be published. Now, in terms of the details, I'll provide you with a review of the process, the background, and the recommended changes. In terms of background, this has been a multi-step process. So we're here today at the Board of County Commissioners. If approved, then this would also go to the City Council because of the nature of the joint code. But it has been through advanced plans and MAPC, and I'll talk about a little bit about those meetings. So in terms of the longer background, in 2016, there were changes that were adopted to the Unified Zoning Code regarding event centers in the county. That's where we get the current set of regulations that we work with. And then in 2023, or since 2023 at least, there's been multiple complaints about event centers operating, and you can see some of the types of complaints that were received and considered. And then there's been a number of meetings to discuss kind of what to do and how event centers can be a good fit for the county. And then there's a whole series of meetings, but you can see it goes back to 2023. I'm not going to spend too much time on those, just knowing that there have been a number of different meetings. Back in February, most recently, the MAPC held a public hearing and recommended the changes that are before you. And so I'll spend a little bit more time going through those in detail, but just want to let you know where those came from. In terms of the existing regulations, the zoning code contains the definition of event centers, and these are premises, as you can see here, that are frequently rented out for activities or events. We're not talking about a family get-together or even a wedding happening on someone's private property for friends or family. This is a transactional nature. It's a business that's taking place. In terms of the existing regulations, event centers in the county are permitted in the zoning districts you see listed here. The unique one is for rural residential. If the property is greater than 20 acres in size, then it is permitted by right, but there are some conditions that it has to meet, which are identified further on in the zoning code. If the property is smaller than 20 acres in rural residential zoning, then a conditional use is required. And so you may remember some of the cases that have come to the county commission with those. In terms of existing regulations, continuing on that, there are parking requirements that are specified, as well as lighting requirements. There are also setbacks. The setbacks are 100 feet from the property line. And in terms of noise, there's no limitations that are specified. So here's what the existing regulations look like. Again, just describing those in brief. Now, as part of the research for this one, we also did some research looking at what other communities do. So here are a number of different counties that we researched what they allow in terms of event centers. What we found is that the majority of them do not have regulations in place for event centers. However, there was a significant portion of them, 20% of them, that were looking at updating or creating regulations regarding the event centers as a land use. Likewise, as much as this is a local conversation, it's also a national conversation. I think there are a lot of communities that are wrestling with this issue and how and if event centers in the county can be a good fit for them, and very similar complaints to the ones that we've seen from members of the public. So, the recommended changes. And right now, we're just talking about the Unified Zoning Code. There is an item later on today's agenda to talk about the comprehensive plan. So focusing on the Unified Zoning Code, what would happen is that event centers in the county would become a conditional use for the rural residential. There would no longer be a by right provision for the larger properties, but it still would remain by right for the uses you can see here: limited commercial, general commercial, and industrial. Screening would not be required unless it's determined by the Planning Commission or the governing body that it should be. A site plan would be required for all of them. There would be hours of operation limitations, so they could operate from 9 to midnight. And there's no specifics included regarding noise amplification. I think the preference that we heard was to address noise through setbacks and also through hours of operation. At one time, there was a discussion about a cap on the maximum number of people. That is not included. And I'm providing this as a review because it's been an ongoing conversation for quite some time. So just wanted to provide you with a reminder of where we are in the latest one. And then, but in terms of the maximum number of people, it still would be capped by the amount of parking that's available, because there is a ratio of 1 parking space per 4 people, as well as if they were having an event inside a building or a structure, there would be the building capacity that would be established by the building code or the fire code. In terms of property sizes, there would be a minimum acreage of 20 acres. Now, that doesn't all have to be one parcel. It could be multiple parcels. Likewise, there is still the option that if someone wanted to operate one on something smaller than 20 acres, they could apply for a custom zoning district or a PUD. In terms of the setbacks, I'm going to hit cancel on that one. In terms of the setbacks, it would be updated to be 200 feet from the property line and then 600 feet from existing residential units. And then we've also, the latest update is to clarify, the intent was always this, but to clarify in writing that no parking would be allowed within the 200 feet of the property line. So here's a quick table to just show some of the regulations. We've talked about many of those, so I'm going to cruise past those. But here's a graphic that shows what currently exists in terms of the regulations. This is on a 20-acre property. It's just a random example of 20 acres. So you can see the 100-foot setbacks. What's being recommended to you today is the 200-foot setbacks, which is illustrated here, and then 600 feet from existing residential dwellings. So that is shown in kind of that circle shape. So again, the recommended action is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission, approve the proposed amendments to the zoning code, sign the resolution, and authorize the resolution to be published. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Commissioners, what questions do we have? Commissioner Beatty.
Scott, thanks for all the work. This has been a couple of years in the process, so I appreciate this. And one question, and I'm supportive of these actions and all the work that's been done. Are there any current event centers, I'm looking at particularly at the setbacks, are there any current event centers that would not be in compliance? And if that is the case, are they grandfathered into?
They would be grandfathered in. Whether or not there are some that don't meet it, I don't know for sure offhand, but my recollection is that yes, we have had some where the proximity of the activity centers of the buildings have been relatively close to the 100-foot.
And that's what really sparked a lot of the action and the conversations of us wanting to look at regulations and these things. But short answer is any existing event center, they're operating as is. These are for new zone change requests and conditional use permits for anything in the future.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. Appreciate it.
Okay. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Chairman. A couple of things. So the parking lot talks about one space for every 4 occupants.
Yes, sir.
Is that, can that be a gravel parking lot?
Yes, sir, it can.
How do you determine spaces if it's gravel? Because there's probably no actual painted stripes.
We require them to submit a site plan, which would identify the number of parking spaces, and it would be estimated based on the amount of square footage that they have and how much per space in the aisle.
Does it have to be gravel? Can it be dirt?
I'll have to look into the code to check and see. Hang just one moment. It says, this is in the attachments as part of the proposed code. It says, all parking shall be located on the site. Okay, I'll keep going. Required parking spaces for persons with disabilities shall be paved. All other parking, drive aisles, and circulation aisles shall be of rock or other suitable material designated by the Sedgwick County Fire District 1 or other county officials.
Okay, well, again, if it's not striped, it's going to be really hard to regulate exactly how compact the parking will be and exactly how that's going to lay out on these events. In fact, I would say it's probably also likely that if there's no marking on the parking area, how do you regulate to keep them 200 feet from the property line?
In that case, what would happen is that a complaint would be received. We would work with MABCD on enforcement. Someone would go out, and if they observed that there was an issue and that the parking was occurring outside of what was described on the site plan, then we would have a violation of the site plan and therefore a violation of the zoning.
So is this going to be during the hours of operation 7 days a week till midnight? We can have that enforced?
If we receive complaints, we would have to make special arrangements, but I believe that we could. Yes, sir. But it would not be that someone could call in except for if they called 911 and the sheriff's office was out and they documented it, then we could use that as evidence. Otherwise, we would have to do a special visit.
Okay, so if it's less than 20 acres, they can do conditional use, but if it's more than 20 acres, this is all by right.
In this case, talking about rural residential, currently, yes, they can do it by conditional use. What's proposed would require a minimum of 20 acres. They would no longer have the option for the conditional use for under 20.
So under 20 acres, the conditional use is now gone with this adoption.
That is correct, yes, sir.
The only other thing I would say I had a concern about, and again, I'll say I was probably the minority here, but I would have preferred to have something in there regarding, setting up, if you will, a civil opportunity for people to dispute and possibly remedy any sound complaints between property owners. I'm concerned about, having rock concert level outdoor events within 600 feet of a neighbor's home on a Tuesday or Wednesday and Thursday. And I think that's, if that happens, there's nothing we can do about that. And I just think that sets us up for a problem. I was hoping that we would have something that would say that it can't be a certain decibel level at the property line. And again, not that I want to enforce this, I have no intention of it, but it would allow the citizens an opportunity to argue that in front of a judge. And I don't want to have to enforce sound levels in the county. I don't know if there's a way to write that. Apparently not. So we're going to move on. I anticipate there's going to be problems from adopting this today, but I guess my only assurance is, number one, this is something we can always fix later on if we have to, right?
Yes, sir.
I'll just express my concern about, again, there's no requirement this has to be an indoor event. It can be an outdoor event, and it can be as loud as they want to be on that property. I guess the sound generating activities, whatever that happens to be, has to be that 600 feet from the neighbor's property. Am I seeing that right?
Yes, sir. That's correct. And not from the neighbor's property, but from the dwelling unit.
From the dwelling unit. So again, if the nearest dwelling unit on their own, say the neighbor has a house that's set back on their own property by a few hundred feet, that would also add to that 600-foot distance.
That is correct.
If someone wants to build on their property within closer to that, within that 600-foot distance, is that going to be impacted?
We make clear to say that it's existing dwelling units at the time that the zoning action is pursued for the events.
Okay. So if they decide to build something closer to that event center, that's on the...
Correct. That's on there.
Yeah. Well, I guess my assurance is, again, if this doesn't go well, we can always come back and amend it later. Thank you so much.
Chairman,
sorry.
Commissioner Howe, to what you were talking about there, I did want to add that regardless of any zoning code provisions, because zoning code's government restriction on use of property, private property owners would retain the possibility to bring a civil nuisance action against their neighbors, regardless of how you guys handle the zoning code. So that opportunity would exist under law even today, or even for a permitted use, even if somebody had a conditional use on this. Of course, there are standards that folks would have to go through to get a judge to rule in their favor, but that opportunity already exists even if we don't do anything with our zoning code.
Well, let's just be clear though. So today, if there's neighbors side by side, there is no sound ordinance in Sedgwick County, or for that matter, I don't believe any county actually has a sound ordinance. But if they are bothersome to their neighbors, they either have to work that out. I don't think there's anything in law that would compel. There's no basis for an argument that we would provide that civil dispute. We're staying out of it. And even in this case, if there's a business that's running an event center that's got 1,000 people and a rock concert that's going on Tuesday evening until midnight, we're not providing any opinion on whether that's okay or not.
Well, and to be clear, if we adopt code provisions on that, we enforce those. They're a type of criminal action, essentially, an unclassified misdemeanor in county court. And so our enforcement action isn't a civil action, and our zoning code isn't usually utilized to give parties the ability to bring civil cases against one another. It's for limitations on uses that property owners can put their properties towards. But I do understand what you're saying. You're correct. We don't have a noise resolution in Sedgwick County. I believe I think Armand in our office had researched this a few months back. I think there are a few counties that have variations of that. It's usually cities that have it more than counties, but you're correct. We do not have a noise resolution in Sedgwick County.
So based on your comments, though, if what I just described was to happen, Is there anything, any ordinance that we are passing that would give that civil dispute any type of basis for an argument? I don't think we were giving them anything.
I don't believe that it would. No, Commissioner Howe. I don't think it's really designed to. But I think that if really, it would be a question. If somebody was doing this improperly under the parameters that Scott described in this, if you guys adopt this resolution, then we could enforce if they were operating outside the confines of what they can do as an event center. But you're correct. As a civil action, this would not build a cause of action against a event center.
I wouldn't be worried about this, except for we've had a lot of really negative experiences with things happening at even unapproved event centers in the past. Things happen, and people will make bad decisions about what they think is reasonable. And I think we're just giving them full reign to basically do whatever they want. There's almost, in my opinion, there's almost no regulations in this thing we're passing today. I think we're essentially allowing almost anything to happen in the county. And again, most of the unincorporated is not in my district. So I think this is a concern that we ought to, again, I'll just want the public to know, I don't like regulations, but I think the regulations are a way to keep peace amongst property owners. They need to be reasonable. And I think that 7 days a week till midnight, no way to really know where to park is going to be very difficult to enforce and actually really difficult to keep peace between neighbors. I think they're going to see some bad things will happen because of this. And so I don't like regulation, so I guess I'll probably support this, but I'm concerned that this is going to be a kind of a chaotic situation going forward. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Wise.
Just one simple question. Do we have any applications currently for new event centers?
We do not.
Okay. When was the last time we had one come through that was?
I would say probably, I wouldn't say 2 years, maybe. Okay. We had a spate of them for quite some time. There were multiple ones that came through.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, I would like to make a motion to select option 1, approve the changes to the unified code pursuant to the MAPC recommendation.
Second.
A motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Aye. Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Blubow.
Aye. And the motion passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, next item.
Item Q, DER 2025-00015, amendment to the Wichita-Sedgwick County Unified Zoning Code regarding public notification in city.
Okay. Hey, Scott, thanks for coming back with us one.
You bet. So Scott Wadle from the Planning Department here to present on this item. So here's the recommended action to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission, approve the changes to the zoning code, sign the resolution, and authorize it to be published. Now, a quick note on this one is that as it's being recommended to you by the Planning Commission, it would only apply to the city of Wichita. So in terms of background, this process was initiated by the City Council, by the Wichita City Council, based on feedback from members of the public and from the district advisory boards. And you can see the date here back in November of 2024 when the City Council formally initiated this. In terms of the process, going back to 2023 when there were early discussions, now we're to the County Commission meeting. This has been to the Wichita City Council, and they did approve it. And so here are some highlights from some of those meetings, but they approved it on April 14th. This was an item, again, that you saw earlier this month on May 6th, and it was deferred for some additional information, and I'll cover that as we go through. In terms of analysis, we contacted a number of different communities to see how they were handling notifications. And again, all of those were sending them strictly to the owners. There was one in Overland Park where they recommended that the applicant submit it to renters, but everyone is sending it to the owners and solely the owners. This has also been a topic that's come up nationally. The American Planning Association has a document that covers this. Their recommendation was encouraging cities to consider policies to inform renters of zone changes. And then just to highlight that letters are just one form of notification that we are required to do and that we undertake. We also do, there are emails that go out, there are yard signs that are required. There's also the newspaper notice and website notices as well. So the notification letters, the purpose of it, as indicated by state statute and required by state statute, is to notify the property owners of nearby properties. Within the state of Kansas, that notification area is 1,000 feet. We also send out notices as a courtesy. We're not required to, but we send out notices to HOAs and neighborhood associations as well. In terms of the process, the applicants are required by our application process to purchase a list of property owners within that 1,000-mile radius from a title company, and therefore it's certified. And then we in the planning department take that list and develop the letters and send those out. Here are the current costs, the existing costs. There's a set of costs for the applicants, a set of costs for the planning department. And because this is a refresh, I'll try and cover this a little bit quickly. In terms of the updates, what is recommended and what has been approved by the City Council is that in instances where the addresses are different, the property owner address and the property address are different, that notices would be sent to both of those addresses. Now, there is a cost implication to this. What happens is that the applicant's costs increase from $18 to $23 per property. That's because of the additional work that, evidently that the title company would do to secure that address. And then there would also be additional letters that would have to be sent out by the planning department. We estimate that our costs are just around $2.64. So we would just multiply that by the number of additional letters that we're sending out. Last time this was reviewed by the County Commission, there was questions about the overall cost impacts to the planning department. We looked back at cases from January to April of this year, and then we multiplied that out, extrapolated that out to get a year's worth of estimates. So we estimate that it's just under about $2,600, $2,700 in costs that the planning department would incur. Here's the text changes that are recommended and were approved by the City Council. Again, emphasizing that currently would apply just to the City of Wichita. Now, there is a quick note here, something I need to note, which is for the ease of staff, we do have instances where there are properties in the unincorporated county that show up with a Wichita address. What we're proposing is that we would do the same process for them. That way, we wouldn't have to go through the time-extensive process of trying to determine whether or not the properties were actually in the city of Wichita or not. So just a quick note about that. Now, also a note on protest. This is strictly for notification. It does not modify the ability to protest. So protests in the state of Kansas are limited to the property owners and the property owners within the protest area. So if a renter was receiving this notice, they would be informed of the case. They would have an opportunity to comment at the public hearings, but they would not have the ability to submit a protest that would trigger or contribute to triggering the supermajority requirement. So here's the recommended action, as I read off earlier. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Okay.
Commissioner Beatty. Yeah, Scott, a comment and then a question for clarity. The comment is, I appreciate the delineation between a property owner and a renter in regards to, I'm going to approve and vote to approve this because I think transparency is important. I think renters that live in an area should know what's happening around them, but the rights of protesting belong to the property owner. So I appreciate that we've delineated that and that for a protest petition, that purpose, that the property owner has that right. But I do believe that for a cost to the county annually $538, I think that's a small cost to pay for more transparency for people that live in these areas. So I'll be supportive of that. I just have a question. Maybe it's for Kirk or Justin on what we're asking to do here. Your recommended action is to adopt the findings of the MAPC. So would that be option one, just take the recommended action, or are we making a change here via option 2?
Yeah, so standard practice, Commissioner, is that the recommendations that come before you are those recommendations that were suggested by the MAPC. So with the option 1, the formal recommended action, their action was only recommending approval of this change for the city.
Okay.
If you want to do for the county as well, it would be option 2.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify. So, and that's where my head's at, is I want to take the action that's happening in the city. I think we could expand that for $538 into the county, so it'd be option 2, correct? We are amending the recommendation. Okay, that's all my questions. Thanks for the work on this.
Okay. What other questions do we have? Okay. If not, I would like to open this up to the public, if anyone from the public has any comment on this. Okay. If not, I want to bring it back, and Justin, help me out on this, because I do want to ensure that we're doing the same notification as the city.
Sure.
So,
and I think what Commissioner Beatty was just talking about and Kirk was answering, it on your motion sheet would be the option 2, which would be to expand this more broadly. So I think that language would accomplish, if that's the intent of adding the additional notice that's been described, to where it would occur both on county and unincorporated area of Sedgwick County and City of Wichita zoning cases, and that motion would accomplish that. And I think you could state your findings at the end of it as well. Any other questions on that, Chairman?
okay. So basically, if I use option 2, I just need to say include the same process for the city and the county both, or what's the
if you read the language that's highlighted there, you wouldn't necessarily need to say it's included more or less in there. It would authorize staff to craft that, to tweak the resolution that's in your backup materials to essentially affect zoning cases in both unincorporated and the city of Wichita. So that would be enabling motion that would be sufficient.
Okay, so this will require 4 votes if I make this option. I want
that is correct.
That the board adopts the findings of the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and approves the proposed changes recommended by MAPC with the additional changes, the Unified Zoning Code, as follow, that the city and the county follow the same process for the changes being proposed for the following reasons: to for consistency, to handle with the same for all zoning cases. And as part of that motion, I move that we authorize the county councilor to craft a correlating resolution and sign the resolution.
Second.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's sufficient, Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, Joe.
Commissioner Meitzner? Aye. Commissioner Beatty?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Wise?
Aye.
Chairman Blubow?
Aye. The motion passes 5-0. Next item, please.
Item R, DER 2026-00001, amendment of the Community Investments Plans 2015-2035, adopted by City of Wichita Ordinance Number 50-129 and Sedgwick County Resolution Number 008-2016, as amended, dealing with urban scale density in the unincorporated county.
Good morning again. Scott Wadle from the Planning Department. So here's the recommended action. This one, again, is an update to the comprehensive plan. So a little bit of history on the comprehensive plan. As you heard, it was originally adopted in 2015 and 2016. It serves as a guide, and as part of that guide, it includes locational guidelines, which are important guidance for land use decisions and helps to inform the staff recommendations when they come before you and the Planning Commission on the staff reports. So since 2020, there have been multiple county rezoning cases where the applicants have indicated they would not be able to fully develop the property without municipal services, namely municipal water and municipal sewer. And in multiple cases, the applicants have also indicated that they would be seeking annexation by the adjacent city. And as a result of these cases, there's been an expressed desire to look into policy and guidance for how we can better address those. And that was formally done in January of this year. And there was a related case that took place that was pursuing mixed-use development, more intensive residential development that really was the focus of quite a bit of that conversation right then. In terms of the proposed amendments, here's the recommended language. There are two important components to this. This would be situated in the locational guidelines of the comp plan, and there's an example of what one of those pages looks like. And the two core components are urban scale and require municipal services. So zoning that would allow urban scale density and require municipal services for development is not appropriate in the unincorporated areas of Sedgwick County, including the urban growth areas. In these situations, applicants are encouraged to seek annexation prior to submitting a change of zoning classification application. And so a couple of notes about this. There's not a definition in the comprehensive plan for urban scale density. This is something that would be subject to interpretation, and that's why we have the combination of with municipal services to help provide additional distinction and definition to that. So some examples about where this would apply. Proposed large residential subdivision where the lots are clearly too small for septic systems or for lagoons. That one, you've got a combination of, you've got density, you've got a requirement that that development's going to need the sewer and water services that a municipality can provide. So that one would fall into this definition. Another one would be a proposed office or commercial development where the property is intended to be developed to an intensity where lagoons and septic systems simply would not fit and may not be adequate for the uses. That also would be one that would fall into this. So, so those are the two core components of this one. Again, some of it subject to debate and discussion, and I would anticipate that some of that would take place at the Planning Commission if one of these items was to appear there. In terms of the process, this has been through the Advanced Plans Committee. We also took it to the MAPC, and they are recommending this to you today. And so the recommended action is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission, approve the resolution, sign the resolution, and authorize it to be published. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Scott, I just want to clarify, because we're having a lot of different discussions here at the county, and we just did a workshop a couple days ago or yesterday about the suggestion about moving from 2 to 5 acres on minimum lot size. Yeah. Does this touch that at all?
It does not. It does not. And the reason why is, they're related because they're both dealing with kind of intensity of use and services. But in this case, we're talking about developments that would require the municipal services and that do hit that kind of density that you typically think of with an urban location. And in that instance, we're talking about single-family residential and how much area should a single-family residential have. So I see them as related, but they're two separate and distinct pieces of the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Brady.
Yeah, Scott, thanks for the clarity there. The biggest question is we're solving, I don't know if it's a problem, we're solving kind of an inconvenience where it's regular that we get something that comes to us at the county and we know that the next step is going to be an annexation. And I think unanimously we've all said, why didn't they do the annexation first? Why they're coming to us? We just had one of these in Park City in my district just recently. And in fact, the Park City City Council had already voted to approve an annexation. It just hadn't been published yet. And yet we heard the case knowing that what our ruling was going to have no effect. So I appreciate that we're trying to create some clarity here in processes. But my question is, this is a comp plan change, not a zoning change. So an applicant can still submit an application. It's just going to impact your staff recommendation to the commission. Is that what I'm?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. Being steeped in the planning stuff, it's so easy to kind of run on without it. So in the comprehensive plan, it's just guidance. So yes, absolutely. We could receive an application that could be for a new development so we would look to the comp plan and say, how does what people have said is appropriate for the county apply to this case? And with this language, it would help inform whether we would recommend as staff approval or denial. The case would still go through the process. It would go to the Planning Commission, and it ultimately would come to you here at the County Commission meeting. Yeah. So it is possible for a case that we would recommend denial to be approved after going through that process.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I actually think this is a necessary step for a variety of reasons, but we've heard frequently that we have applicants that say that the annexation into the city is contingent upon a County Commission approval of the zoning change request, which I always felt was odd. So anyway, I think this is the necessary approach going through the comp plan because that advises your decision and your recommendation, but the ultimate authority still resides with the commission on some of these things.
Yes, Commissioner Beatty, I just wanted to add a point on to supplement what you and Scott were just talking about also is that the comprehensive plan is a factor you and the Planning Commission can consider under the golden factors as well. So it also give you, that's something you can rely upon as you're making your quasi-judicial decisions on these matters too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Justin.
Commissioners, what other questions do we have? Okay, I'd like to open it up to the public. Does anyone from the public have any questions or comments? Okay, if not, I'm going to bring it back, and if we don't have any other discussion, I'm going to move that the board takes the recommended action.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Weiss.
Aye.
Chairman Blubow.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next item, please.
Item SDER 2026-00003, Amendment of the Community Investments Plans 2015-2035, adopted by City of Wichita Ordinance Number 50-129 and Sedgwick County Resolution Number 008-2016 as amended, dealing with event centers in the county.
Scott Wadle, we're getting our money's worth today.
Yes, sir. So this one is kind of a sibling item to one that you considered earlier with the zoning code. So I'm going to go ahead and skip through kind of the background, but I can certainly go back to it if you have any questions on it, because this went through a very similar process. So in terms of the recommended changes, this is for the comp plan, and it is simply to add to the locational guidelines the following statement: that rural event centers for public or private activities are discouraged near residential subdivisions and or sensitive land uses and should have restrictions that mitigate nuisances or hazard impacts on surrounding properties. And then there's some examples that are listed there. So again, just like the item that you just reviewed, this is part of the comp plan. It would provide guidance for the staff report as we're putting that together. There is a term in here that's not defined, and that is sensitive land uses. So that's subject and open to interpretations. And so I could see that that would generate some discussion and debate at the Planning Commission level. But yes, so that's essentially, that's the language, and the recommended action is for you to do the same. It's just approve it, the proposed amendment, sign the resolution, and authorize it to be published. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Okay. Commissioners, what questions do we have on this? Okay. I would like to open this up to the public. Does anyone from the public would like to comment or have any questions? If not, I would like to bring this back, and I would like to make a motion to adopt the findings of the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and approve the resolution amending the Community Investments Plan 2015 to 2035, sign the resolution, and authorize the resolution to be published.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Aye. Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Weiss.
Aye.
Chairman Blubow.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next item, please.
Item T, 2026 Legislative Session Recap.
Got good news for us, Tanya?
Morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Tanya Cole, Assistant County Manager. So I am here this morning. I'm going to be very brief. We have here with us our legislative lobbyist group, Watkins Public Strategy, and that's Jason Watkins, Jessica Lucas, and Nathaniel Blank. So I just want to just give a little bit of background. We started out working on our legislative platform early this year. I think we started in October and ended in April. And I always say that, I always try to find a word, but I always seem to come back to every legislative session seems to be challenging. This year we worked on property taxes, our sales apportionment tax, tag office, and then of course the many items that we had on our platform, such as the cremains bill, just to name a few there. And so I want to hand it over to Jessica and Nathaniel. They're going to talk about our wins and then maybe things that we need to work on for next year. But before I hand it over, and I know this is going to get repeated several times, but I just want to talk about what a great job they do on our behalf as far as communicating, campaigning, lobbying on behalf of Sedgwick County. I think they are most likely the best group that we have for lobbying. They do a fantastic job for us. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jessica Lucas. So, Thank you.
Good morning, Jessica.
Good morning. Thank you, Tanya. Good to see all of you. Let me get adjusted here. So yes, it is good to be here in Sedgwick County with all of you talking about the 2026 legislative session and the opportunities that we had to deliver on your priorities while we were in Topeka. I know you all know this, but I like to say it. Jason and I care deeply about Sedgwick County. Our whole team does. Nathaniel is also here. So it truly is an honor to represent your interests in Topeka, and we carry this county in our hearts every day. I want to acknowledge Jason, who won't be here at the podium, but has faithfully led our in-session Monday afternoon calls, and of course is the guiding force behind the work that we do. And then Nathaniel, who you'll hear from later, will share additional insight on legislation. Your agenda is always robust, perhaps the most robust agenda of any of our clients. As we planned for this session, you know, your agenda is robust because you guys do so much, and the work of the county impacts every sector of life, really, if we think about it. And it is one of those things that, if you were to say what keeps you up at night, it's that constant worry of, are we seeing everything? Do we know everything? Do we have all of our bases covered? And we're able to do that because of the partnership we have with you, the great work by staff who also are there as a check and balance with us as we're constantly looking at what we need to do. But I remember in one of our planning calls, Jason and I saying to Tom and Tanya and the team, like, this is a lot, and we probably need to figure out how we're going to really focus and make sure that we are getting some key items done. And then we hung up, and Jason and I looked at each other and said, but gosh, all of these ideas are really good. Like, we should do that. We do need to do this. So the good news is, we did prioritize, but we also spanned a good cross-section of this agenda. And if we didn't fully complete it, I think we're in process to keep that moving forward. And again, that's a tribute to the fact of all of us working on this together. It's not Jason and Jessica and our team at Watkins Public Strategies. This really is a great collaboration between staff, us, and all of you as the commissioners, and we recognize that. And I think the piece that I am most proud about is the fact that in everything we're doing, it is in service to the taxpayers that we think about every single day. You guys are one of the best examples, I think, of good government. You're mindful of your role to provide essential services to citizens without overspending. It's been my experience that the taxpayer is always at the forefront of your decision making. And so we carry that message then to our policymakers and work with them to make sure you have the tools you need without handcuffs, emphasis on without handcuffs, so that you can keep leading one of the largest counties in Kansas. The Treasurer's Office, Tanya mentioned that, didn't get quite where we hoped that legislation would go, but we've made progress. And so we do have the $10 transaction fee and a task force to look at modernizing our services there. We will continue to monitor that. The task force will begin to meet later this year, and we'll keep you posted as we learn more about the process for that. The cremains bill was my surprise bill. Did not expect that would catch some new life with some other issues that folks use that bill to be able to advance. Appreciate that all of you were willing to allow for that to be a vehicle for some other good policy to move forward that needed to happen, and we did get that to Governor Kelly's desk for signature. House Bill 2571 was the public letting bill that provided the increase from $25,000 to $100,000, and that made it through the process. I do want to flag, for the last several years, we've been talking about ComCare and mental health services and the CCBHC model. CCBHC came under some surprise scrutiny this year, and thankfully we were happy that we could move forward without the adoption of some of that limiting language, and that is an issue that we'll continue to monitor. Unfortunately, the legislature did cut $6 million from the resources for the mental health intervention program. We are happy to say in the bucket for things, $4 million for community mental health centers was added in one-time grants, and ComCare should be able to take advantage of that. We also saw an investment of $20 million in SGF funds for the Sedgwick County Mental Health Hospital for their first year of operations, and then an additional $2 million more was added to increase Medicaid rates for dental services. Not necessarily a direct Sedgwick County initiative, but good for the whole as we talk about those reimbursement rates and making sure that folks in the county have access to care that they need. There are some unfinished areas that we're hopeful to prioritize for 2027. The apportionment formula, this also fell victim to some unexpected politics based on other language in the bill, and we will seek to immediately address that in 2027. Our bill to give you the ability to protect the public from dangerous animals did not go as far as we would like, but certainly has supporters and folks who understand that that's an issue. And then the appraiser qualifications is one that we hope will get a more serious look in 2027 based on conversations that we had with tax members this past session. Before I hand it off to Nathaniel to talk about some other bills, I do just want to set the stage for where we are right now and what the next few months are going to look like. We're quickly approaching the June 1st filing deadline. That's when we will know exactly who is on the ballot for what position. The governor's race will be new. We'll have a new governor. We know based on what folks have shared with us that there will be a new insurance commissioner. Vicki Schmidt is not running for re-election, and Scott Schwab is not running for re-election to Secretary of State. So 3 of our statewides will have new people at the helm. And then the Attorney General's race, the incumbent Chris Kobach is running for re-election, and the incumbent State Treasurer Stephen Johnson is running for re-election. So those are all going to be happening, and then we have 125 House seats up for re-election. So that's going to make for a busy summer and fall. For us, it means a lot of uncertainty. It means uncertainty because we won't know who the governor is until November. And it is the latest possible date this year that the legislature will make determinations for leadership elections. So on December 7th, the House members will all convene in Topeka to decide who the next Speaker of the House will be. Speaker Hawkins has announced that he's going to run for insurance commissioner, so we also know that position will have someone new in the role. We then will have to wait a little bit of time for that newly elected speaker to get his or her bearings and then decide who are they going to name to committee chairmanships and make up those committees. So meanwhile, all of the ideas and things that we want to do, the challenge in a year like this is we don't know where to take those ideas and conversations. I think it's prudent upon you and us to begin thinking now about what we want that 2027 agenda to look like. We certainly want to have conversations with every candidate on the ballot that's interested in what we're doing and let them know what it is we're going to need for 2027, but we can anticipate a slow start in 2027. That new governor will be named by the electorate in November, and he or she will then get to work figuring out who their cabinet secretaries are going to be, what the budget's going to look like, and quite frankly, just waking up realizing, oh my gosh, in January they're going to give me the keys to the State House in Cedar Crest, and I'm going to be in charge. So there's just a lot involved with that. That is not me saying we won't be able to make progress in 2027, but I think it's important for us to just understand where we're at, what that's going to look like, and when we can finally know who all those players are, we will want to be ready to take quick action and make sure that we can make the progress that we're seeking to have on the issues that are important. Property taxes, of course, will continue to be part of the dialogue. I know you all think about that every day. We know the electorate is talking about that. It's on the hearts and minds of folks running for office. We'll see that conversation come up. Nathaniel's going to cover some of those bills that we saw this year. Budget, right now, the state's budget is in a stable place, and we hope that will continue, and certainly that impacts our work and the resources available to also augment the things that you guys are doing. So I would look for all of those as elements of what we will see in 2027. Again, thank you so much for the partnership. We'll have Nathaniel talk on a few things and then stand for any questions.
Morning, Nathaniel.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners. I'd just like to second what Jessica said about how much of a pleasure it is to work for the county. And I think that is really highlighted by the first bill I'm going to talk about today, which was House Bill 2329. This was a pretty comprehensive juvenile justice reform bill we've been in the working for several years now, really. The first part of it was that we would authorize an override regardless of the results of a risk and needs assessment for juveniles that were caught with a firearm while in the commencement of a crime. That would be an automatic sentencing of 12 months in detention up to 24 months. The bill also renamed the Juvenile Crisis Intervention Centers to Juvenile Stabilization Centers. Some of the parameters for entry were also changed for that, and some of the treatment there as well was adjusted to make it more plausible for these centers to be opened in the state. And that has also provided $2 million in annual funding from the evidence-based program account. The second part of the bill was to direct up to 35 to 45 non-foster home beds, commonly referred to as youth homes, boys' homes, with no more than 15 in a singular singular facility. There's also $4.5 million for that as well in the evidence-based program account. It also authorizes the court to sentence juveniles considered chronic offenders to a juvenile correction facility if they are assessed as moderate risk or high risk. Previously, that was high risk only. And then it also adds the category of juvenile offenders to those considered chronic offenders, which is an offender adjudicated as a juvenile offender for an offense committed while on probation or conditional release for a prior felony adjudication. Moving on to taxes, there were several tax property plans reform that were proposed throughout the year. The House had several different versions. The Senate was more on the constitutional amendment side. The last one of those that went out was House Bill 2043. It would have provided a protest position to contest a budget that exceeded inflation, according to the Consumer Price Index for the Midwest region, up to 3%. And that did exclude new construction and bonds. It also would have allowed revenue neutral rate notices to be filled out and signed by the registered voters of the taxing subdivision and submitted as a protest petition. That threshold was 10% of the last vote in the Secretary of State's office. That was vetoed by the governor. That happened during veto session, so there was not a chance to overturn that veto. Like I said, there were multiple failed constitutional amendments. One we saw was SCR 1603. That would have placed a 9% valuation cap. That ended up failing in the House 69 to 54. Which needs 2/3 to get out as a constitutional amendment. And then the last one we saw was HCR 5008, which President Masterson brought on the last day of session. This would have created a rolling average cap set by the legislature, and those years would have been also determined by the legislature what the average fair market look back was. That did pass the Senate 27 to 12, but again, ultimately failed in the House 59 to 62. Another tax bill that would have impacted the county was 2406. This would have exempted property taxes on commercial and industrial machinery transferred or acquired into the state on or before June 30th, 2006. This bill would have disproportionately affected Sedgwick County, and we were able to catch that and relay that information to the committee to put a pause on it this year. They may look at addressing this in a future session, but due to the impact on Sedgwick County, we were able to postpone any action on that bill. Another bill centered on local government was Senate Bill 197. This has been around for a couple years as well. This is commonly referred to the No Impact Home-Based Business Bill. We brought the county's concerns to the committee. We're unable to reach a compromise, but again, this bill did not, the conference committee report was not acted upon. It passed the House in 2025, but this year's CCR was not acted upon, so that bill did not go anywhere as well. And then lastly was House Bill 2111, and that exempted registered agritourism operations from local code and regulation enforcement, but ultimately that was also vetoed by Governor Kelly. I'd be happy to stand for any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Commissioners, what questions do we have? Commissioner Howell?
Well, thank you, Chairman. I just have a few things I'd like to chat about. I am really proud of what you did this year. You all did a great job, as always. I'm so grateful that we have a good relationship with Watkins Strategies as our lobbyist team. You guys do tremendous work. I have some, again, I think you did a great job, Nathaniel and Jessica, for your recap on what passed and all that. One of the things, one of which I don't think you mentioned today was House Bill 2644, and it was signed by the governor. So this is one that actually passed. This is one that I think surprised a lot of us. This is one that if you have a reduction in your property valuation through an appeals process, I don't know if it means just the informal appeal or if that includes BOTA, I don't know. But if you have a reduction in your property value, that you have a 5% cap for 5 years. Did you guys follow that piece? You know, it's one of those things where now the county does have the option of paying for a fee appraisal to show that the property value is more than 5%. But my response to that is, why would anybody let the fee appraiser into their home? Because the worst thing that would happen would be they would be in there and they'd say, well, it's 10%. Why would they let them in their property? My opinion is if they came into my property and say, we want to come in and see if your house is increased in value by more than 5%, I'd just say, go fly a kite. And I'd never let them in, right? Because the 5% is a better deal for me as a taxpayer. So I don't know if that was thought through by anybody, but the governor did sign that bill. And to me, there's going to be, this is going to obviously happen. Anybody that gets I'm not sure there's even an adjustment, a threshold for the adjustment. I think if it's adjusted downward, we overappraise someone's property, they make an appeal, we adjust it back down to a correct value, but that gives them a fuel protection for 5 years. I don't know if you guys have any comments on that one or not, but that one surprised me at least. I don't know if anybody else was surprised by that.
Commissioner, appreciate you bringing that one up, and it's something that I do not have a lot of familiarity with. As I mentioned, there's a breadth of things that we're trying to track there, but we'll follow up with looking at that and then making sure that if any additional remedies are needed or it is going to impose complications, that we're addressing that in 2027.
I'll throw out there, we had a list, I think Chairman Blubaugh and I think the other commissioners have weighed in on some of these as well, but we have a pretty long list of things to fix property taxes that I think are pretty good ideas. Maybe they're not all great ideas, but some of them are pretty good, and I like some of the things we're talking about here. But one of the things that's on that list, and I'm not sure my colleagues agree with me on this one, but I have been talking about for about the last year or so about if we had someone who believes their property valuation was too high, that they could have paid for a fee appraisal. And if they, again, it would have to be a certain qualified appraiser that meets our standards for establishing a valuation. So it would have to be a certain type of appraiser. But then they provide that data back to the county that's lower than the county's previous valuation, that should that situation happen, and again, to avoid frivolous activity, you know, if they simply want to make an argument that their valuation is wrong and they pay a fee for a fee appraiser and find out that we're not wrong, they're going to have to eat the cost of that fee appraiser. I was hoping that, though, if they come up with a fee appraisal that is lower than the county, that we would actually have to pay the cost of the fee appraiser. But that way, the property owner has all the cards in their hand. If they find out they're wrong, they just need to understand that they were wrong, and they'll live with it and pay that cost. But if we're wrong, then they have evidence. We would actually adjust it and correct that, and we would actually cover the cost of that. So it almost penalizes us for being overvalued, if you will. To me, that would have been a better way to go, but the state didn't pass that idea. They passed the one that says we have to pay for it if we think that it's overvalued, if we think it's undervalued, and we have to pay for that. But I have no idea why anybody would ever let them into their home. So to me, we got that close to what we've been suggesting, but I think we missed it at the end of that on who pays for the appraiser and why. House Bill 2329, I did get to testify for that in January. I appreciate the grace of the legislature. I did testify in some bills by Zoom because I wasn't able to make it to Topeka because of my injury. But that one was 3 years in the making. I want to thank you, my colleagues, because a number of my colleagues and and by the way, and your support. We had numerous roundtable conversations with legislators and judges and corrections and DA staff and law enforcement folks, and we came up. I think we were the genesis of why that bill was inserted into the legislative process, and you guys helped us get that done. And that, in my opinion, is going to have the biggest impact on our juvenile crime situation going on here in Sedgwick County. So I cannot say how important that piece of legislation was for our youth in Sedgwick County. And just the other day, last weekend, we had a horrible shooting here in Sedgwick County, and I hear people on the response to this. We have to do something. What are we going to do? And it's like there's an unawareness that we've already been engaged. We've actually already passed legislation. It hasn't been June 1st yet, but it's coming. And so I'm grateful that we actually have leaned forward in that. I don't know if you mentioned anything about tag fees today. Tag fees, we had some relief on that, allowed to go up to, I believe, $10. That was currently $5, but also change it to a transaction fee. Again, I want to mention this because although we talked about it in our staff meeting, I'm saying just yesterday, the public may not realize, but we have the authority now to adjust the fees. And my opinion is the fees up to $10 is really not the big story here. And so we're going to get, hopefully, the right staff we need in the tag office to make people happier to get in and out of that place a lot quicker. And to me, that the $5 fee or whatever is not the big story here. It's that there's going to be revenue generated to hopefully enhance the staff capabilities at the tag office so people can get in and get out much more quickly. To me, that was a huge win, and I am grateful that we got that done. I know that was a hard vote for a lot of legislators, but I think that was incredibly important because
if I may, I would also say that I think, again, Sedgwick County's voice on that, particularly Brandy, really brought home the importance of what this means and the frustration, again, from folks here in Sedgwick County that see this broken system. We're hopefully getting closer to that. The Vehicle Modernization Task Force will also begin meeting later this fall, and I want that to be another way. We know there's more work to do. We need a system that works for the modern era, and I think the state is starting to move toward that, pushed on, nudged there by Sedgwick County. So kudos to all of you for that.
And we had made progress on a lot of other bills. It didn't quite make it to the end there, but the dangerous animals bill, that was one of those that I know that we have to do something about this. If you don't understand, if someone doesn't understand what's going on, I would like to explain that really our hands are tied when there's dangerous animals that are threatening neighbors and other pets. There's not a lot we can do on that because we just don't have the authority. So this would give us additional authority through a very due process opportunity for us to resolve some of those conflicts that happen. I think that was although it did pass out of the local government committee. I don't know how much further it got than that, but it didn't quite make it to the end there. But so I'll be engaged in that one coming up. I would like to say we made a comment the other day. I don't know when. Again, I forget which day we made this comment. Maybe it was last Friday, I think. But I would like Sedgwick County to lean forward and work together, and maybe work with you all to come up with a comprehensive solution to property taxes. I think the state needs our help. We're doing this full time. The state, they are essentially part-time, part-time. They don't do legislation year-round. I mean, they do work year-round. I'm not going to say they don't work year-round, but most of them have jobs and they do other things, and they serve on lots of committees, and it's not necessarily focused on property taxes. I think taxes is one of the things we spend so much time on, and we have some ideas. I would like to see us work on getting a comprehensive proposal back to the state of Kansas, because I don't think they're going to take the time to come up with a comprehensive solution. But I think if we were to work together here and essentially hand the state a comprehensive overarching solution to property taxes, I would hope that would be welcomed by them, because I think we have the unique perspective and experience and skill set to actually make a proposal that should be, in my opinion, should be received by the legislature. Some of the proposals that came up with this year, again, I supported some of the things they did, but some of the things are also very problematic. I didn't actually mind House Bill 2043, with the exception of the revenue neutral rate notification for the 10% threshold. In my opinion, that was so cumbersome and impossible to actually, I think it would be impossible to actually incorporate the logistics of what that 10% threshold would mean. I don't know how to solve that problem. I think the election, when we, in 2015, Sedgwick County leaned forward by providing help to actually figure out how to do an election during a tax season, a tax cycle. The dates in the initial bill for the tax lid weren't quite right, and we actually proposed changes of dates to make it workable. I think that we ought to go back to that legislation and see what we did in 2015 and adopt that same idea for an election that would replace the 10% threshold for the protest petition. I like the idea of I think that bill had a lot of really good things about it, but that's the one part I think that it might even have gone to court, maybe been thrown out in court, because it's very similar to we've had legislation in the past that I think that has been questioned by the courts and has been overturned. Again, I don't want to spend much time on that. My point is, I don't think the bill was bad. I think the bill had a lot of really good things about the bill. I don't know that I like the assessment caps for lots of reasons. I was pretty vocal about that in January, and I think that a lot of the legislators understood the point I was trying to make, and I think my colleagues generally supported me on this. But I think it had some unintended consequences, at least two really big ones. And I know that people they like the idea of how it sounds, but when they see those two unintended consequences, there were such big problems. I don't think we can go down that path to the end. And so I'm grateful for that 1603 and some of the bills that were like that Senate Concurrent Resolution 1603 did not pass. I think that's the wrong way to go forward. I think the levy caps or spending caps is maybe a better way for us to focus on that. Having said that, I think, again, maybe I'm wrong on my numbers here, but I think there's around 650, maybe a little bit more, municipalities in the state of Kansas, and cities and counties I'm talking about. I think there are some that are better than others. I think Sedgwick County is extremely well run. And you mentioned, someone mentioned that earlier. I think it was our bond folks said that. Sedgwick County is really very conservative. And when you have this premise that property taxes are out of control and we have to do something at the state level, we have to do something to stop the problem, it misses the point that maybe some municipalities are actually doing pretty good and they don't actually need that help. And I don't mean that we don't need help. I just don't know that that broad brush is fair to us when we are actually, I think, doing a pretty good job. There's not a lot of opportunity for us to cut spending because we're so conservative already. And I can actually I have data. Thank you to Lindsay. I have data to actually really argue that we have honed in on efficiencies that really is quite surprising. We're extremely conservative and we're very efficient at what we do here. And so the premise that property taxes are out of control, if you want to cut revenue, we have to cut services. And I think that's the thing that people don't couple that together. They really want to starve the beast and cut the source of revenue that funds local government, that we have no choice but to cut services. And if they force us to do that, we will have to do that. But I think the people we serve are going to be very upset. And I don't know how to solve that other than simply say, I don't know that the state, maybe it's not proper for the state to feel like this is their responsibility to fix the problem. If we have a problem here, then the electors here and the governing body here need to work together to solve the problem locally. And I think that's where I would be. I don't know that it's really appropriate for Topeka to solve that problem for our 650 municipalities, because there's a premise that may not be true for everybody. I've said quite a lot. I'll stop talking. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I want to say thank you again for all you do there. I have lots more comments, but I'm just going to stop. Thank you.
Before I turn it over to Commissioner Beatty, I want to jump in here a little bit to piggyback some of your comments about appraisals. Commissioner Howell and I, since I took office, that was one thing I campaigned on, and I continue to focus on it. And I know that our legislative focus was to help us open up the requirements of an appraiser. You know, we needed to hire an appraiser. Maybe we want to have somebody that's maybe more accurate with the market and less of a bureaucrat or someone that has, basically spent most of their I think as we talk about our legislative agenda next year, we need to reshape that focus to the system, because I see our system right now, it's borderline manipulative and it's very calculated because it's not actual market. The system is made up of cherry-pick comparables. We're driven toward a 90% compliance, but they're going to take out all judicial orders. A lot of neighborhoods, that's all they're selling. It's estates out there. It's probate. They're going to take out auction properties. They're going to take out foreclosures. Jason Watkins, wife's a broker. He understands the market is what the market is. And I want to drive compliance to be realistically, if you want 90% of sales values, then it needs to be an actual market and not a cherry-picked data, cherry-picked comparables. And that's going to be my push going forward. I hope we can start having that conversation sooner than later, because we got a new appraiser and she's doing the best job she can to work within the rules she's got, but the rules she got skyrocketed all of our property values, and we're getting into a situation where we're overvaluing property because we're cherry picking comps, and it's part of the system, and I really want to focus on that next year.
Well, we appreciate that feedback. And again, we're here to help facilitate conversations and figure out solutions. It has been my experience with the legislature that they don't have a lot of time for just problem definition, right? Everyone comes to them and says, I have this problem. Where the real action takes place is when we're able to bring them, here's the problem, and these are the solutions. So as you, as a body, decide collectively, what does that look like? What is that agenda? And again, I think now is a good time to start thinking about the 2027 agenda, because we're going to be in it very, very quickly. We'll take that agenda and do our best to get the messaging out there and work together with the legislators to pass some good legislation on this issue.
I've appreciated everything you guys do, and I think this is a leadership opportunity for Sedgwick County, and I think you guys are the right team to help us move forward, because you do have that same passion for Sedgwick County that we do, and I appreciate everything you guys do.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your confidence in us, and are, like I said, here ready to serve as you tell us to do.
Thanks. Commissioner Beatty.
Yeah, I'll just thank you, Jessica, Nathaniel, Jason. Appreciate the partnership, and that's exactly what it is. Also want to acknowledge Tanya and the work that she does in coordinating with you on the legislative platform and all the legislative updates. Tanya has a big job as an assistant county manager here, and this is one of the things she does. It takes up a lot of time for about 120 days. So special thanks to you, Justin, the work you guys have had to write a lot of bills in the counselor's office because of some of the backup. So thank you to your team and everyone that's had a role in this. It feels like we're putting a bow on this legislative season, but the impact of some of the decisions that were made or not made continues, which is why this relationship is really, really important. And this dialogue is important. One of the things that I really appreciate about the work you do outside of the relational capital you have with legislators and the relationships is you help give us a temperature of what's going on in Topeka. Is they're in the middle of this sprint for 100 or so days. I can't tell you how many times we've gotten phone calls and said, hey, you need to make a call to so-and-so. You need to make a call here. We need you to come testify in person. We need you to be available. I think that's incredibly valuable. So you're always giving us a temperature of who we have, who we're losing, where you think the bill's at. So that's helpful. That relationship, you being on site and giving us back that information is just so crucial in this whole process. There's a lot of bills we could talk about. I'll just say one really important thing. Thank you for the conversation around the CCBHC funding, the danger some of that was in, but also the continued conversations that will take place. It's really important. I know you guys know this, but I want the public also to know this. We are making pretty sizable investments with infrastructure and capital investments based on a CCBHC program that we have now. And if that is going to change, the taxpayers in Sedgwick County might be put into some precarious situations. So the hard part when we start changing models and the models of how we do behavioral health care throughout the state of Kansas is we are investing dollars, taxpayer dollars, fee-funded dollars, revenue dollars into building the infrastructure based on the model that exists today. And if that changes, it could put us in a really precarious situation. So I can imagine as we're starting to build out the next legislative platform that this is going to be a big topic of conversation. Side note, thank you for mentioning the changes in the MHIT program, not only the reduction in the funds, but also there was the reallocation of how they do the formula. My own kids' school district, the May School District, has had to lay off 6 MHIT liaisons. Valley Center in my district laid off 50% of their MHIT liaisons. Thank you to Anna and the team at ComCare that are actually stepping in and having conversations with these school districts to say, how do we help you meet the gap here? Because the needs are growing, yet resources were diminishing. So that's a challenge. So I just want to, I wrap all of that up into saying thank you. And we know the value that the Watkins Group has for not just the commission and the management and the staff of Sedgwick County, but the taxpayers of Sedgwick County. So you guys are the best, and we value your partnership. So thanks for all you did.
Commissioner Meissner.
Thank you. Always good to see you. It's nice to see you in a less stressful environment.
Yeah.
Anyway, just
And we actually have the benefit of time to spend together versus, 2 minutes and on to the next thing.
I'm really glad also that that Commissioner Wise and the chairman got to witness a season of how fast stuff moves. And you're having your calls on a Monday, and then by Friday it's changed. It's really, and it helps that we have Commissioner Howell, who kind of knows some of the navigating things that complements. So I think we've got a fairly good team. I really like also that we seem to approach, you mentioned we do a lot at Sedgwick County related to us as a client for you, but it just seems like we always arrive at what's just the right thing to do, common sense, reasonable, and so it's very helpful, and we appreciate your guidance as well. It helps when you all say, I don't think that has a chance, so we either have to ignore it or we regroup or try it again another time. A couple of concerns. I know when Commissioner Howell mentioned that House Bill 2644, this 5% thing, it kind of caught us all off guard too. I think our appraiser and Johnson County's appraiser all of a sudden said, wait a minute, what is going on here? So I think we've all been caught with that coming at us so it might be something we need to, I don't know if we can change it around or work on it right off the bat. Did you mention, we got the cremains bill done?
We did, yes.
Yes, so thank you. Another common sense, should have been an easy one. I'm really disappointed that the sales tax distribution formula got played, combined with even the permission to have a sales tax vote, which was a no-brainer from day one all the way until midnight of the last night. Yeah. Those kind of things are frustrating for me and for us to say, is this really how Topeka works, where it's a no-brainer, yes, it'll be fine, not you guys, but them all saying, no problem, no problem, then all of a sudden it gets played as a card, and that's not really good. So we will again go through a budget year where we are going to try to pay for what we need to pay for, only capture enough to pay for, and we will have a property tax mill levy reduction, but on the side, as Lindsay will help point, we'll have a number that says, okay, just by doing that, it cost us another $150,000 in less revenue on the sales tax, that the other cities will get to split our $150,000. They'll get to take it, and that's just so wrong. But thank you for helping us to do that. And the other thing, I love the appraiser discussion. Maybe we can assist in. We talked about maybe sometimes, even with property tax, I got a feeling sometimes that we might understand the whole property tax appraiser system better than many there in Topeka that are voting on things. So we are talking about maybe trying to formulate something that we could propose. It's not the first time we've had to assist with you to write proposed legislation. So I reluctantly am another one of our to-do lists that we don't really want to, but we feel like we have to take a lead. And then finally, I'm concerned personally, and by the way, when Commissioner Howe was talking about all the things, we all have our own opinion, and Commissioner Howell's exactly right in tune with 90% of whatever. But when each one of us says, I want to do this, it is. You respect it. It's the five of us. And one thing that bothers me is is in the community corrections world, how the KDOC kind of treats community corrections as, I'm learning as, that's not, it's the distant cousin. They're worried about corrections and Lansing and Hutchison room additions, and rightfully so, but community corrections, when we say publicly that there's 1,200 people in Sedgwick County Jail, and there's also 1,200 people roaming in Sedgwick County that are under community corrections that could be in jail, that are not in jail, and of those 1,200, 400 or so are from outside the county. Just because a person says, I think I can get a job in Sedgwick County, you get to come to Sedgwick County. So we are taking a large burden in the community corrections world and are getting a little bit ignored, similar to the juveniles. I think there's 300 under 150 or so under direct incarceration type world, and there's another 150, 200 juveniles roaming the streets under community corrections there. So that's just a personal thing that bothers me, that I don't think if the community realized the importance of that, we could maybe help elevate. And we've even talked about, do we circle the wagons on the very effective in our community is the Crime Commission. I'm sure that they're not aware of either. So maybe we'll be able to, if we decide that that's important enough for our legislative agenda, we can maybe circle the wagons and get some outside, some business and community support as well.
And we did have an item on the agenda, but there was nothing that we were doing this year for community corrections specific to legislative advocacy. Depending upon how conversations go, we may have to go that route, and we're ready to deploy however we're needed in regard to community corrections. Certainly recognize the importance of it and want to make sure that Sedgwick County continues to receive its fair share for the population of individuals that they're helping to support. So that is definitely a priority, and I hope we don't have to go the legislative route, but we're ready to if we can't get where we need to go with the agency.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you. That's really kind of was my contribution to this discussion. But
yeah, appreciate it.
Nathaniel, thank you. Jason, Jessica, thank you, Al. Appreciate it.
Okay. Commissioner Wise.
I'm really glad, Commissioner Meitzner, that you brought up the corrections issues and formula change that we're up against. That's really important, I think, underestimated, and many people don't know. When I talk about what money we had on the table there to lose, people don't know that, and it's a huge concern. So I'm glad you brought that up. I know that I personally feel a huge weight lifted when we finish up the legislative session, and I know you guys probably do too. We've taken an approach, just since I've been on the commission, of really what are our big items that are the most important to us, and what are some of the things that maybe are cremains, right? Common sense, super easy. As we start to build our legislative platform and initiatives now to be ready for next year, do you still advise to take that approach on what are the top 3, 5, or whatever issues that we need to really be pushing for, and maybe doing some of the work to just hand it over with a bow on it and say this will work, will you look at it? Do you still agree with that approach, or is there anything that we could be doing differently? There's different platforms that we share with other entities or groups like the Chamber or the City of Wichita that we do joint legislative platforms with. There's at times that we stay neutral and we don't voice our opinion or comments on some things, and you guys help us and guide us through that too. I just want to be the most strategic and have another very successful year next year. So if there's any guidance that you can give us as we start talking about that now.
Yeah, I think it's important. When I think about your agenda, it kind of falls in three buckets. We have what I'll call the big idea bucket, right? The things that probably will need more than just one session, but we can't afford to not be elevating those issues and starting to get understanding and traction on the idea. And I think a few things there that are kind of in our big idea bucket, these are systemic changes that we're looking to make that we believe will be for the ultimate benefit of our taxpayers. The second bucket is exactly what you mentioned with cremains or the public letting. Those are just kind of basic functions that this tweak there or there is going to make things work better, and that's good for everyone. But keep in mind, on public letting and cremains, two very simple things, both of which cremains took us 2 sessions, and then public letting, not because of anything we did, but the bill becomes a vehicle for someone else's idea. And had we not been able to salvage that, we may not have been able to see that get to the finish line. So those simple things that feel very easy to do often can take time and energy and use up our limited time that we have in that 90-day session. And then the third piece, that is the hardest piece to measure, is all of the things we're going to play defense on, or the ideas that no one ever gives us any preview into, and suddenly that becomes part of the session and it impacts what you do. And that is where we're managing our time and our effort in Topeka, is those 3 buckets. Are we making progress on our systemic changes? Are we making sure those rats and cats bills are moving the way they're supposed to? And oh my goodness, how do we make sure that we're either stopping the bad stuff or we're at least having those conversations that say, okay, here's what we need to see to be able to fix it. The other element that's happening that I think is helpful in this process is the strengthened engagement with our friends in the other large counties. KAC is an important partner, of course, and provide a lot of guidance to all of us, but we have some shared objectives with our friends in Johnson County in particular. And so as we strengthen that and think about those bigger systemic changes, I think we will all benefit from a collaboration not just driven by Sedgwick County, but also in partnership with those who are also experiencing similar challenges to operations, specifically in regard to what you've been mandated to do by the state, but not receiving any resources to actually accomplish.
Yeah, that's good. No, I appreciate all of that, and I think you said it the way that I describe it is defense. Defense gets tiring, but we need to keep our eye on what's coming against us. And I think that was all. I mean, we've shared all of our appreciation, so I won't belabor that, but we are super blessed by your work and the work that you do and guide us through the legislative session, and we will continue to try to improve and fight our battles and represent the people well. And if there's ever an opportunity, and I don't know if it's been done in the past, to get maybe with some of our local South Central Kansas reps and see if there's anything that we need to just give them a little bit more background on or details on before they head into session. I don't know if that's a strategy that's ever been used, but I think if we could circle up with them and just provide the local impact on some of these big, maybe what you call the big idea bucket, maybe we could coordinate something, a lunch or something that we could do that.
Yeah, I think we would be very open to coordinating that, and I think it is extremely important. One of the benefits that Jason and I have always praised about our Sedgwick County delegation, really the South Central delegation, is that when it comes to matters related to this region, they really have stood together. Democrat, Republican, it hasn't mattered, and we don't ever want to see that go away. So any opportunity we have to bring folks together in collaboration around this regional needs and what we need to do to remain strong is important. We also will have a new governor to make sure fully understands what we're doing, how things operate, and that he or she will continue to prioritize investments to South Central region so we can grow. And I look forward to us having all of those conversations in the next few months. There is going to be a lot happening. We will keep you informed and be ready to meet the mark in January when we're back in session.
Okay. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a second bite of the apple. What you said a few minutes ago with Commissioner Wise, I think that that's the takeaway. I look at this success list as the things that we were able to move forward were very crisp opportunities. We defined it early, and we were strategic, and we lobbied very well to move our agenda forward, and those were great opportunities. And then the second part of that was we defended against the threats that were surprising. We didn't know they were coming, but we were vigilant, and we dealt with them as they came. So those are the two strategies, I think, of a very successful session that you guys took care of. The big ideas, I look at that basically just advancing our establishing goals, if you will, on where we want to end up in a big picture. So those are the three ways I describe that. I agree with you that South Central's been really good at listening and engaging us on these types of issues. What bothers me more than anything, though, is it seems like it's become a state legislature versus local government. That divide has gotten worse, and I'm not sure what to do about it. I mean, at the end of the day, I would love for us to show them respect for what they do, understanding they have specific responsibilities, and I want to show them respect and encourage them and support them, trusting them to make the best decisions for the state and what the state's supposed to be doing. And I would like it if they would do the same for us. I think at the end of the day, this overarching condemnation of local government that we're just bad and we are doing a very bad job and we're wasteful, and that they have got to do something to rein us in. It's almost like they're the parent. They are ignoring the fact that the electors themselves do have a power to get better representatives if we're not doing a good job. I would like to say the same, and I actually wrote an op-ed on this a while back. The electors that put us in these seats are the same electors put them in their seats. At the end of the day, the people are the boss, and both from the state legislators as well as local elected officials. And again, if we're doing a bad job, I think the electors need to speak up and help work with us to figure out what to do to make that better. And likewise, it's the same thing, the same answers at the state level. If they're doing a bad job, the electors need to rise up and provide them the feedback. They need to know how to do their job better. But the disrespect between local elected officials and state elected officials has gotten so much worse in the last couple of years. And it's not helpful. It's destructive, and it actually hamstrings us both to be successful, to be more successful in our respective roles. So I don't know what to do about that, but it's something I'm aware of. I'm observing it, and I'm very concerned about that. So I just want to share that with you. Again, thanks for all you've said today. Appreciate you.
Commissioner Meissner.
And just one more final thing. Commissioner Wise forgot to say it, but she wants to extend her thanks for the Topeka to pass Senate Bill 98, which really gave us a lot of more work to do locally. So tell them all thank you very much. May we have another one.
Jessica, Jason, we appreciate the partnership, and we look forward to continuing on. So thank you guys for all you did. Tanya, thank you as well. Okay. Next item.
Chairman, was there an interest in doing a receive and file motion for the next item?
Receive and file.
Oh, okay. I'd like to make a motion to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Blumenauer.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next item, please.
Other.
Anyone?
Well, I do, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yesterday we had a very in-depth staff meeting on the tag office. Appreciate our treasurer, Brandy Bailey, coming to have a conversation. I just want to stress a couple different things. One is it feels as if some of the biggest complaints we get from our citizens are likely from offices that we don't have a whole lot of control over the operations. One of them being the appraiser's office. A lot of this is in statute. We don't get a chance to adjust how they perform their valuations or methodologies. The other is in the tag office, where it's ran by an elected treasurer. We have no authority over the operations. We fund the budgets. She has given us an opportunity of what she says will really help the operations in that office. So I just want to make sure that we are doing our part in understanding exactly what it is that we can do to help assist what's happening in that office. Commissioner Meister made a really valid point yesterday. He says, we're getting all the heat for this thing. Why don't we run it? That's not an option because of the state statute, but we have to do our part, and our part is funding a budget. She has come to us and said that she has a specific need. She believes this will move the needle in a big way. So I would just say I think we're going to be entertaining a mid-year budget discussion on some of this stuff, making an adjustment on either a staffing table or a funding of some sort. I would just ask that we expedite that conversation. I think our citizens are speaking loud and clear that they expect progress, and I want to be able to do our part. Our part is not operations. We don't run the tag office. But whatever we can do to try to help our elected treasurer, I certainly want to be at the table to do that. So I appreciated the conversation yesterday. I want to expedite the discussions that can happen as early as July 1st when a new funding mechanism is in place that we can utilize the tag fund. So again, appreciate that opportunity and looking forward to doing what we can do to try to help that situation.
Okay. Commissioner Meister?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under other, last night I was able to attend the commencement ceremony at WSU Tech, and it was at Koch Arena, and Koch Arena, the floor was packed with 650 students that came across the stage. I was fortunate enough to fill in. I handed out 650 diplomas and shook 650 hands, but the crowd in there was very enthusiastic. Some ceremonies of these high school and college are fairly formal. This one is like a pep rally because there's actually, like I said, 650 across the stage. There's 2,100 people graduated. 75% of these graduates are first time in their generation that they graduated to get a certificate of something. It's a huge impact. 350 of them were also going over to the high school to graduate from high school, so they were taking classes during high school. We talked about the applied learning skills. Over 1,100 of them were involved in that applied learning skills, and they generated themselves $2.5 million worth of income during this time for their jobs. 14% of them are military. There was 11 states were represented that graduated, and 90% of the graduates already have a job, and 75% have indicated that they're staying in the Wichita-Sedgwick County area. And then there's other data points too, but it's again, you all know that thank you for allowing me to continue to serve as our representative on the WSU Tech board. It's just it's a very refreshing ceremony, and these data points are encouraging for our current and our future. And of course, Dr. Sherry Utash and the staff they do a great job. So I'm sure there'll be a video about that ceremony that they do. We've shared off and on. I'll get with the comms team. We'll share it whenever it's ready to go. But it was a wonderful event last night, and had a lot of handshaking going on, a lot of cheers, a lot of tears. Very proud. These families are really proud of their spouses. A lot of them have kids. It's a wonderful thing. So thank you for letting me share this, and again, thanks for letting me serve on that board.
Okay. Before we adjourn our meeting, I want to recess the meeting to go into the Fire District Number 1 board. So if we could please call Madam Clerk.
Roll call. Commissioner Meitzner.
Present.
Commissioner Beatty.
Present.
Commissioner Howell.
Present.
Commissioner Wise.
Present.
Chairman Blubaugh.
Present. Next item, please.
Public agenda.
And we do not have anyone signed up on the public agenda. Next item, please.
Consent agenda.
Chairman and Commissioner Tom Stolz, County Manager's Office, again recommending approval of consent item A on the fire agenda.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments on this that we haven't already covered? Commissioner Meister?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. If not, I would like to make a motion to approve item A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call order.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Blubaugh.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next item, please.
Other.
Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to reflect a little bit on conversations I had yesterday. I hosted a coffee in City of Mulvane, and they have a volunteer department. Although these agreements don't affect our relationship with Mulvane in any way, they have been following this story pretty closely, and they wanted me to just to recognize the fact that the broad brush that we're using to some of the volunteer fire departments and volunteer firefighters is quite offensive to them. And I just want to recognize the fact that I don't think we're trying to condemn cities. If they want to be a volunteer department, that's fine. I think I make the argument that the majority of fire departments across this entire nation, and certainly across the state of Kansas, are in fact volunteer fire departments. And I think that the majority of citizens, in terms of just certainly in geographic coverage, if you will, are provided fire protection services through volunteers and volunteer fire departments. At the end of the day, these are people who are very giving of themselves. Right now, there's fires happening in western Kansas, thousands of acres being burned. And I think we have a huge number of volunteer firefighters that are there, even from Sedgwick County right now, that are fighting some of those fires out that way. I want to recognize the fact that we do appreciate them. We respect them. This is a decision of cities that have constitutional home rule. They can do what they deem to be best. These contracts that are being rescinded, these cities don't actually have to do anything if they don't want to. They're welcome to, what's the word that Commissioner Beatty uses to ramp up? What was the word?
Scale.
Scale up, if that's what they feel like they want to do. If they feel like that's needed or necessary. They've got constituents, residents in their cities. I think they work together and determine the best path forward, whatever that happens to be. And if they choose to stay as a volunteer department and scale up or respond in whatever way they think is best, I respect them. And I want them to know that this is not intended to be a condemnation to those decisions or condemnation to the people in those departments in any way. I appreciate what they do. I appreciate their sacrifice and their service and their skill set and what they provide. I don't want them to feel like we're being. I don't want to be personally offensive to them in any way. This is simply to me, the one thing that causes me to want to do this is I believe that we have a very expensive fire protection system organization, and the people that are paying for this through their mill levy taxes are giving away their services very routinely to these areas that are not paying into the system. And I think that that's just not a good configuration for us to be in. I think if there's a structure fire in one of these cities and we need to respond to provide assistance, I have no doubt that we will do whatever we can to protect life. But our expectations are different under the rescinding these contracts. Our expectations are different. And so I would encourage us to continue to work together. I know that my commissioner colleagues are working in their cities to resolve this. I don't know what is going to happen at the end of the 90 days. I am concerned that 90 days may not be long enough for us to resolve some of these things. I would be open to adjusting that date if necessary, to give time as needed to find the best path forward. But my reason for speaking right now primarily is I just want the volunteers to know I don't intend to condemn them or disrespect them in any way. I do appreciate what they do in terms of sacrifice and service, and I trust these cities to make the best decisions for their people. That's all I want to say. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, next item, please.
Executive session.
We do not have an executive session. Next item, please. Adjournment. Okay, and we'll go back to the county commission meeting, and I believe we're at adjournment on that as well, correct?
Executive session.
We do have an executive session? Okay. No, okay, we do not have, okay. So we are adjourned at 11:32.